Yeah, welcome, and I guess thank you for coming. I know it's been a long day. I think this is probably the last talk for today, so I appreciate you being here. Uh, I'll try to keep it very exciting. I have a lot of live demos lined up, so hopefully this will be fun. So, my name is Wim Musen, and I lead the developer engineering team for the Asia Pacific region. Um, and today I want to talk a little bit about why we are investing in Tango, why we care so much about this technology. I want to go into what exactly Tango is and what kind of experiences you can enable on top of Tango. And then, of course, this is a developer conference. I want to talk about how you as a developer can use Tango to build new experiences. So first, I guess before I start, I always like to get an idea of your background. So by raise of hands, who has heard about Project Tango before today? That's about, let's say, a third of the room. Great. And then maybe the harder question. Has anyone developed on Tango before? No developers. OK, this is awesome. So today, I will show you how you can get started on Tango, and I'll show you the kind of experiences that you can build. So let's first do a little introduction in Tango. So fundamentally, Tango is about using computer vision to allow your mobile device to understand the world around it. And as people, we have this really amazing skill. We can just look at the world and really understand the geometry, and we understand how we move. And it's kind of amazing. It's just light coming into our eye, and then our brain is processing those signals, and based on that, we know how to operate in the world. As a person, if you look at this scene, you immediately understand that this wide blob is a place where you can go sit down. And you know the brown area is a place where you can walk. Or as a person, just by looking at the scene, you would know where you could put down a glass of water. Or you can recognize a dangerous situation, somewhere where you have to watch out, just by looking at the scene. And we want to give your mobile device some of those same capabilities. So with Tango, instead of seeing this scene as just millions and millions of pixels, we want your phone to really understand the geometry of that room. And we want your phone to understand how it moves through the space. So with Tango, we're using computer vision to really give your mobile device an understanding of space and motion. So maybe that sounds all a little hand-wavy, so let me just show you a demo. I'll show you the app that you get to see when you first buy a Tango phone. This is kind of the welcome experience that you get. And I have this GoPro rig. It's not perfect, but it really kind of shows you what the experience would be. Could we switch to the demo? All right, so this is the welcome experience for Tango. There you go. So this really gives you an idea of like all the different capabilities of Tango. And we'll go into a lot more detail during the rest of this talk. So to look a little bit at what's coming up. So first, I'll talk about exactly like what is Tango? Like what is the hardware? What are the software building blocks? Like and how did we construct it? Then I'll give an overview of all the different types of experiences that you can build with Tango, like going from AR to VR to video stabilization to even to navigation. So we'll cover the entire spectrum. Then I'll go into much more depth and explain you step by step how you can build an augmented reality experience. And of course, we're in China, so I want to talk about how can you use Tango as a developer in China? Like what are all the tools and building blocks that we have available for you? All right, so let's get started. What is Tango? Like what exactly is it? So first, we'll go into the hardware, because Tango runs on custom hardware that enables these kind of computer vision capabilities. So I want to give you a little bit of an overview of where we've come in the last 4 years as we've been building Tango. So back in 2012, we started out with just an idea. We had this sketch, like this idea of what would be possible on a mobile device. A little later, we built our first prototype. So I found this really old picture of one of our very first prototypes, like built into plexiglass. After that, we started looking at, can we reduce the form factor for Tango? Like, can we make all the components smaller? Can we deal with all the thermals? And can we create it into a phone form factor? And then about 2 years ago, this was one too fast. About 2 years ago, we released our first Tango developer kit. So this was still a platform kind of at small scale to give our developers a preview of what Tango could do. So they could experience Tango even before we publicly released a real device. And then really exciting, like just last month, Lenovo announced their first consumer Tango device. And this device will be launched worldwide, so it'll also be available here in China. So let's break down the phone a little and think about all these different prototypes. They have 3 things in common. Those are the 3 specific things that every Tango-enabled phone has. So first, every Tango device has the ability to sense 3D in the world. So every Tango device has a depth sensor. Second, every Tango device has a wide-angle motion tracking camera. And this allows your device to know how it moves through space. And then, of course, to do all the heavy computer vision processing, we have a special vision processing chip in every device. So the Lenovo device comes with a Qualcomm Snapdragon chip. So these are the 3 components, the specific hardware specs that you need to have a Tango-compliant device. And if we take a little bit of a step back and look at mobile phones, like sometime not too long ago, a phone was meant to make phone calls. And then slowly over time, more and more pieces of hardware got added to it. Like at some point, cameras became standard on every phone. Accelerometers came, gyros, GPS is of course on every phone right now. And then more recently, you've seen things like fingerprint sensors on every phone. And we believe that the ability for a phone to kind of see the world in the same way we do, like for your phone to understand motion and space, it's so fundamental in how we interact with the world that we believe that these Tango specs are inevitable for mobile phones to also add this as a next capability. So let's take a look at the different software components that make Tango. So there is 3 core building blocks that you find on every Tango device. So there is motion tracking, area learning, and depth perception. And I'll go into more detail for each of the three components. So let me just grab a phone real quick. So motion tracking is kind of what it says. Like, it allows your device to know how it moves through space. So if I start with my device here, and I move forward by a meter, motion tracking will tell me you moved forward by a meter. If I rotate 180 degrees, motion tracking will tell me you moved forward by a meter, and I rotated 180 degrees. If I then go back to where I started, again, motion tracking will tell me that I'm back approximately to where I started. So motion tracking tells you how you go forward, backwards, left, right, up, down, and it knows 3 different rotations. So in full 6 degrees of freedom, it knows how your device moves in space. So our second building block is area learning. And I want to try something new with you guys. I want to try a little experiment. So I want to ask everyone, close your eyes for just a minute. All right, everybody eyes closed? All right, so now point with your finger to the door where you came into this room. Yeah, awesome, thank you. So every one of you, as you walked into here, you build up a memory of what this space looked like. And you can open your eyes again, sorry. Experiment. So, but think about it. You build up this memory. You remembered where the door was. You remember where you're sitting. You probably remember where the stage is. So you build up this memory of your world. And this is exactly what Tango does for area learning. Like, area learning gives Tango a memory so it can recognize a space that it has seen before. So that's our second building block. Our third building block is depth perception. So because every Tango device has a depth sensor, if I point my device at something, the depth sensor will be able to see the geometry of everything I point at. So if I point here, my depth sensor will be able to see the surface here. If I point it at the back, I'll see kind of the surface of the back. So everywhere I point this, I can see the world in 3 dimensions with the depth sensor. So those are the 3 core building blocks for Tango. So now I guess you have an understanding of what makes a Tango hardware unique, and you understand the 3 basic building blocks in our software SDK. So let's look at what are all the things you can build with this using these 3 building blocks. So I will show a number of demos now, and for each of the demos I will show you which of those 3 building blocks that we use to build that demo. So I'll tell you if something used motion tracking, area learning, depth perception, or a combination of those. So first, let's look at a VR experience. So it's not VR as in Daydream that we have a headset. This is handheld VR. So it means that everything Tango shows you, it's all virtual. So let me switch to a demo here. And I'll show you a fully VR application in Tango. It's called Hot Wheels, and you get to race cars. So I'm already at level 3. All right, I earned some coins. 1 second. There we go. So here you can see I'm in a complete virtual world, and with Tango I can walk around in that world. And I can go look at little details. But everything my device shows is virtual. And then from here I can start interacting with the world. If I go to the start of my track, I can launch my car, and then go watch it drive over the track. So here, my Tango phone is this 6 degrees of freedom joystick almost to guide me through the world. And I can interact at different places with the world. So to build this kind of VR applications, let's see what kind of building blocks you need. And this is one of the simplest things you can do, because all you need is motion tracking. Because you only need to know how are you moving through space. Once you know how you're moving, you know what kind of scene to render. So that's VR. Let's look at the next part. So if we take it one step further, what if we want to build an augmented reality experience? So let's jump back to a few demos here. And I have a few different apps I wanted to show you. So the first app allows me to put a virtual dinosaur in the real world. So I can select what dinosaur I want and then just add it to the world. And you can go look at it from all different angles. You can make it small, you can make it big. So let's add a bigger guy here. And now he's at 55%, so let's blow him up all the way. And you can really get a sense of the size of this animal. Like if I go a little closer, like you really get a sense of this big animal being right here. All right, so let's jump to another demo. So this was more, I was showing you kind of a static object. But in AR, you can also start interacting with the world. So let's show another game. It's called Domino World. So in this game, I can start building my own domino track on the real world. So let me build some here. And I can just place blocks by moving around. And then, I have a whole toolbox. If I want to add, let's say, a bridge, I can add a bridge to my game. I can add different color blocks, and I can literally freely walk around in my space. And maybe we can hop onto stage and continue right here. So you can build this entire track of domino blocks, and then we can add some cool effects. So let's add some explosions to some of our blocks. And then maybe try one more trick. I don't even know what it's going to do. All right. So now that I've created this virtual domino, I can just start it and let it run. Let me give you some sound. And there we go. Uh-oh. Let's see what happened. I added a difficult block. I do not know how I can fix this. All right. So even in the virtual world, this is kind of hard. But okay, let me try one more. Okay, I added a few more blocks. Last attempt. Oh, they're still going. There we go. All right. Dominoes. I can use some practice here. So, one more app I wanted to show you, and this one I'm actually pretty excited about. So, Jingdong has built an app on top of Tango that allows you to do online shopping, but then you can visualize items in augmented reality. That's one of the challenges you have in virtual shopping, of in online shopping, that you don't get a real idea of what things look like. So if the Wi-Fi works out, let me show you what this could be. So here I can choose between AR and VR. So let's pick AR. And now we're waiting for the Wi-Fi. There we go. So I can scroll through different products. So let's say I wanted to try out a couch. So this app is live. It's like running right now, getting data from the internet. It's also part of the Lenovo App Store. And let's see if the Wi-Fi comes through. Let me just give this a little bit of time while it's loading and talk already about what the building blocks are that we need to build these augmented reality applications. So obviously, to build this, you need motion tracking. Because again, we want to know how we're moving through space. But then motion tracking alone is not enough. In order to know like where we can place virtual objects, like you want your dinosaur to be on the ground. So in order to know where we can place things, we also need the depth perception. So to build AR, you need both motion tracking and depth perception. Let me give this one more try because it's super cool. Not enough Wi-Fi. Maybe too many people in one room. All right, let's jump back to the slides then. So as I talked about, for AR, we need both motion tracking and depth perception. And with those two building blocks, you can build these experiences that you just saw. So now let's take a look at things we can do if we use the depth sensor like for more kind of advanced capabilities. Because depth sensor can see the world in 3D. So let's see what we can do with an app to start measuring the real world. So let's jump back to the demo here. This is an app called Measure. And again, because it's Tango, I can like freely move in space. So I can come here to the front and maybe measure how wide this row of people is. And I can place my second point. There we go. 3.5 meters. So I can just freely move through space and start measuring things. So let's try something more in 3D. So let's start measuring some of the tiles on the floor here. So now it allows me to fully extend it and create a full volume out of it. So if I go a little further away, you can see I can start measuring areas, I can start measuring volumes, and I can just do it anywhere in the world, anywhere where I can tap and click, I can start measuring in 3D. All right, let's jump back to the slides. So to enable this 3D measuring, we actually will rely on like motion tracking and area learning and depth perception. So you probably understand why you need motion tracking and why you need depth. But why do you need area learning here? And area learning is going to help you to improve your accuracy. Because when I place points in the world, I want my Tango device to remember where exactly it placed those points. Like I don't want those points to start drifting away over time. So by using area learning and giving my device a memory, it can remember exactly where it placed those points. And when I walk around and start putting dots all around, Tango remembers where I placed them and gets more accurate measurements than I would otherwise get. So area learning can help you to increase the accuracy and reduce drift for your device. So now, let's look at like, what if we go all the way? Like, what is the very best we can do with our depth sensor? Like, can we build like 3D models of the world? And I have a pretty cool application here. It's called the Constructor app. And I'm going to try to make a model of some of you guys here in front. So let's just jump back to the demo here. So now you can see a live view of what the depth sensor can see. So you can see right in front of me, it can see the 3D shape of people here. So now, what if we, instead of taking one depth measurement, if we start accumulating all these depth measurements together? So if I could ask you guys to sit really still, then we can build a really nice model here. All right, so I press record. And I can keep adding new information and keep accumulating more and more depth measurements. All right, so now I save it. So now the model gets optimized. And the camera is a little blurry, I apologize for that. It looks a lot better on the screen. So now I have an actual 3D model of the people in this room. All right, let's jump back to our slides. So to build this 3D model, again, we need motion tracking. Motion tracking, is, you probably see, is one of the core foundations of Tango. Like almost anything you do with Tango will rely on motion tracking. And then here, obviously, we need the depth sensor again. You could use area learning if you need more accuracy. But like this demo that I just showed was not using area learning. So it kind of shows you what you can do even with just motion tracking alone. So let's look at some other applications that are possible. Because Tango knows exactly how your device is moving. So let's say you're shooting a video while you're walking. Like Tango will know exactly how your device is moving as you walk. And obviously you don't want your device to shake up and down as you're making a video. So because Tango knows how you move, it can also compensate for the motion in your video. So you can start doing video stabilization. And because Tango is 6 degrees of freedom, you can do a full 3D video stabilization with Tango. So not just orientation, but you can compensate for all the motions of the camera. And for this, obviously, again, you need motion tracking. And optionally, you could use depth if you want to have more information about your scene on how you want to correct it. Or you could do it without it. It depends on kind of how you want to correct for the motion. But depth is available if you want. So now let's look at a future application. So imagine if you used area learning, not just to remember like a few feet in front of you, but what if you remember an entire building? like if you go scan an entire mall or an entire museum, um, then Tango could provide you directions on how to get from A to B in that space. And you could do it in full AR. Like the video is a little choppy here, but you can see on this screen you could paint dots on the floor in augmented reality that guide you all the way from where you are to where you want to go. If you want to build something like this, of course, motion tracking is one of your components. But then to do this, I guess you need something like area learning. And not just area learning on your device, you need area learning on steroids. You want to put area learning in the cloud, process very large amounts of data if you want to enable something like this. So this is one of the future applications that can become possible with Tango. So right now you understand how Tango works. You have a bit of an idea of like all the different things you can do with Tango. So let's take some time and just focus on AR. Because what we see is most of our compelling experiences tend to be in the AR space. So let's go step by step on how you build augmented reality with Tango. So let's say we want to do this. We want to add a virtual cat into the real world. Sounds pretty simple, right? So let's go through step by step. So first, let's think about the real world. Obviously, the real world is all in 3D. And what happens when our phone looks at the 3D world, we get to see a 2D projection of the 3D world in our camera view. So if you look at it from a different angle, the 3D world gets projected in 2D in our phone. So our phone sees something like this through the camera. And as you move around, the 3D world would get projected in different ways onto your 2D phone. So as you move around, you can see different angles of the table. And of course, this is just video. This happens automatically. We don't need to do anything. But now, if we want to add a virtual object into this real world, it's kind of the same principle. We have a virtual 3D object, and we want to show that in a 2D projection in our world, in our camera. So we're going to do the same thing as what naturally happens with a camera. We're going to go from 3D to 2D. And as we walk around, you want to get all different 2D projections of the real world. So let's try something simple first. Let's just try to render that virtual object alone. Let's forget about the real world for a second. And let me show you a demo here. So in this demo, I'm just going to try to add a virtual object to the world. And we want to be able to see it from all different angles. There's our cat. And then now, as I walk around, I can see it from all different angles. So it's doing exactly what we want to have. Like, we take our 3D virtual model and create all different 2D projections as we walk around. So now, let's try to do a little bit of a naive step. Let's take our virtual cat and just add it together with a video feed. Let's just put the two together in kind of a naive way and see what happens. So this time, here's the real world, and there's our cat. So if you put the two together, it's not quite right. Like, even though we're doing all the rendering good, we're doing all the motion good, it still doesn't look realistic, because obviously we don't want our cat floating in space. So to create a compelling AR experience, we need to know where we can put these objects. We cannot just put them anywhere we want. So let's jump to the slides real quick. So this is kind of what we did until now. We just took our virtual cat, added it to the world. Not good. So what we really want is we want to find all the different places of where we can place our cat. And luckily, the Tango SDK allows you to do this with just one function call. You can tap somewhere on the screen, and the Tango SDK will tell you what the local surface is. It will tell you where you can place something. So it'll give you a 3D point and a normal. So you could kind of tap anywhere on the screen, and Tango will tell you, here's where you can place your virtual object in the real world. So if we select one of those points, we want to put our virtual cat right there. So let's give that a try. Let's put those two together. So the next step in our demo. So again, we see the real world. And there, our cat is now not floating in space, but nicely sitting on the ground. So this looks a lot more realistic than our floating cat. We can go up close. And now, since Tango can understand the world, I can just tap so on the screen and let my cat walk there. And I can go back on stage and tap on a higher surface. And because Tango fully understands 3D, we know exactly where to jump through. Again, just I do a click, and Tango tells me where the 3D surface is where I can make my virtual object go. Let's see if we can go maybe onto the table here. There we go. So this is all pretty cool. So let me show you where it's not quite right yet. So I'm going to put the cat here behind the table. And I'm going to move to the other side of the table. And you're going to see what happens. Again, no good. So even though our cat is in the right place, if I don't hide the cat when it's behind a physical object, it doesn't look good again. So we really want to know where there are occlusions in the world. So let's jump back to the slides. So remember, we just built this 3D model with Tango using the depth sensor. So what if we use that to kind of construct a model of our occlusions in the world? So instead of showing the cat through an object, we can create a simple model of what the obstacle looks like, and then use it to hide a part of our cat. So we can do at least an approximate occlusion of what we can see and what we cannot see. So let's go to the demo once more and show the last kind of version of the cat AR demo. So in this application, we're going to start out by building a mesh of the world. So you can see the gray, that's the mesh that we're slowly building. So as I walk around, I'm creating a 3D model of what the environment looks like. And I can tell Tango to save the mesh. So now we have a mesh saved. So if I go find my cat somewhere, so let me ask my cat again to go behind the table. So now if I move, my 3D model can help to hide the cat. Oh. Let me put it back up here. There we go. And here, we're not actually hiding the... It really likes to jump down there. Okay, let me try once more. There we go. So I'm actually still showing the cat where we would have rendered it, just to show you like what we're hiding. And if I come out from behind the mesh, we can see the cat again. And you can see it's not 100% perfect. There's the edges are not quite always exactly at the right place. But then as a developer, you can kind of use some creativity. Maybe you can blend the edges a little, like, and work around some of those limitations to make it a really compelling experience. All right, let's jump back to our slides. So these were kind of all the steps to go building an AR application. And for all these steps, we have tools built into the Tango SDK. So all of these things are very easy as a developer. They're just functions available for you to use. And if you look at kind of what AR can do, like this is an example of like, it's pretty amazing. There's like one virtual car, one real car. If you look on the roof of the car, you can even see the reflection of the building onto the car. So to create really, really perfect AR, there's a lot of kind of additional steps on top of just dealing with occlusions and geometry of the world. But even with kind of the tools we already have, you can create really compelling experiences. Like it doesn't have to be picture perfect to make a really compelling experience for a user. So let's talk a little bit about developers, like how you guys can develop on top of Tango from within China. And I want to kind of go through a number of building blocks of things that you need to be a developer and to be successful. So first, obviously, you need devices. Like you want devices to develop on, and you want to have users to have devices so they can use your apps. And this is why it's great that Lenovo has launched the Tango device, the Fab 2 Pro, worldwide. Very soon, you should be expecting an announcement from Lenovo about where and when you can buy it in China. So that's coming up very soon. This device will be available in China for purchase. So first thing, you want devices in China, Lenovo Fab 2 Pro. Second part, and you probably know as a user in China, you don't always get the latest updates because there's multiple Play stores available, and you don't always get the latest software updates that are available through the Play Store in the rest of the world. So for Tango, we will make sure that every time we release a new version of the Tango software, we will also release it in the Lenovo Play Store, or in the Lenovo App Store. So users in China will always have the latest and greatest Tango software, just like the rest of the world. So you get Tango software updates. The third component, documentation. And just today, there was actually 2 important launches that happened. One is Google made all their developer documentation available directly in China. And at the same time, we launched a new Tango website that is compatible with kind of the content you can view in China. So I'll show you the link a little later, but you have all our documentation, all our example apps, all our SDKs, everything is there available from China directly. And then of course, when you build applications, you want to have a place to find users. And Google Play is a great platform to find users worldwide. But then you can use the Lenovo store. Like Lenovo has built a special Tango section in their app store to release your apps to the Chinese market. So you have both a solution for the international and for the Chinese market to get your apps to users. So we have these 4 components: devices, software updates, documentation, and the app store. So it means as a developer in China, you have all the building blocks to build compelling Tango experiences and address both the Chinese and the international markets. So to end, I wanted to give you kind of the link of our brand new Tango website. on this website, you can find all the documentation. You can download our SDKs. We have support for C, Java, Unity, Unreal. So everything is there for you to get started. And maybe to add one more thing to this, because the Asia markets are really important for us, we just started staffing up a new developer engineering team for the Asia Pacific market. So we want to be here to support you guys and make sure that you have everything you need to build really amazing applications. So go check it out, and thank you very much. You should all go check out the Tango booth and the Daydream booth if you haven't already. I think we still have an hour of demos going on, so if you want to try some of this with your own hands, go check out the booth. Right, thank you.